Welcome. You are tuned into another episode of CrossTalk. My name is Kevin Tacci, and I'm going to serve as your host for this episode. What do we talk about on this particular show? The idea is to better inform you about a lot of things that are going on in the two communities that we serve, that we love, Whitman and Hanson. It also serves as a vehicle to talk about upcoming events, the community at large. Maybe there might be an issue. This particular conversation, though, you would probably think that it should be more geared towards a municipal focus. It is, but it's also kind of, we get to know our town administrator for the town of Whitman, Mary Beth Carter, who is our guest. Welcome to CrossTalk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I wanted you and I have worked together for many, many years. I am in my 20th year here, serving in some capacity at WHCA. Talk to me about, first and foremost, your dedication for the town of Whitman and what you do.
I love the town of Whitman. I've grown up here, went to school here, my children live here, so I'm very invested in the town. I started with the town back in 2003 in the collector's office, and then I was the assistant collector, the collector, then the treasurer collector, and now I'm the town administrator. So
it's been quite the
journey.
quite the journey. So the main purpose of our conversation here today, folks, is coming up on the town meeting warrant in May. The town is going to ask you to decide whether to the treasurer collector's position, which is elected, okay, to take it from being elected to being appointed. Now, our conversation prior to the cameras rolling, I have learned that there are very few communities right now that go with that. Now, remember, you're talking about a $55 million entity called the town of Whitman, and you're electing somebody, whether they're experienced as an accountant or just the regular person on the street, to manage that money. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, absolutely. And the DOR, Department of Revenue, strongly urges that this position be an appointed position. Out of 351 cities and towns, there are maybe mid-30s, 35, 37, that are still elected. And out of that number, only about a third of them are for communities that have over 10,000 residents. So, they want to see all the towns going that way. And of course, the reason for that is, you could hire somebody with experience in that field with credentials, somebody not through a popularity contest. So
let's talk a little bit. What would you feel? What are the specific challenges or inefficiencies with the current election-based system as we know it at this particular time?
Well, it's worked well for many years. We didn't have a lot of turnover. However, this is like a great opportunity to make this position appointed as the former treasurer collector has moved on. But it would actually create a lot of efficiencies if we had somebody with experience in the position for financial planning, being a member of our financial team, somebody with experience, so that it just is worrisome that we could have somebody that comes in on a popularity vote, or somebody that does not have a lot of experience in, and it's not just accounting, but it's investments. There's the treasurer is the custodian of all the funds in the town. So very important.
And being somebody who served in that position for so many years, you understand what goes into it. You know the work that goes into it.
Oh, I do. Both on the collector's side with all of the bills that are issued, all of the money that comes in. And I always say that every penny that comes in or goes out of the town goes through either the treasurer, the collector's office, or the treasurer's, or both, right? I mean, the money comes in, it's booked up onto the ledgers in the accountant's office, and it's expended through the warrants. So it's very important with the amount of money that comes in that we have somebody in place that is qualified, that has the credentials, that's experienced.
Let's talk a little bit. This is not the first time that this is appearing on the ballot. What happened previously where this was not successful?
I believe it was put on the ballot years ago, a couple of times, and spaced, I'm sure, quite a few years apart from each other. But just in the more recent past, we have put it on the ballot twice. It has passed at town meeting. It has to pass at town meeting and at the ballot box.
Right.
So it passed at town meeting both times. However, when it comes to the ballot box, it has failed. So, we did, do better presentations, I think, at town meeting, but I want to get out in front of it this year. Starting here with this, I want somebody to come in and speak at a select board meeting. I want to put up a Q&A with some links to the DOR, just get more information out to the public.
Let's say if the town is successful in May, not only at the town meeting, but at the annual town election, which is the third Saturday of the month in May, right?
May 17th.
May 17th. What qualifications, what experience would be required of someone who's an appointed treasurer collector, and how would it differ from what voters would consider every 3 years?
So certainly we would be looking for an experienced candidate with financial background, with banking, with investment, with accounting, somebody who would be qualified, differently for this position, of course, but like we would look for in a town accountant. I'm hoping someday that we will even have a financial director. I'm trying to make sure while I'm in office that we have a very secure and well-run treasurer collector's office, an accountant's office, and a great, strong financial team.
And it's worth noting that unlike folks who serve on the select board, who serve on the school committee, or any of the other municipal boards, somebody who is elected as a treasurer collector, it's actually a paid position.
Oh, absolutely. It is a paid position, and the position for the treasurer collector is in the middle for the surrounding towns. So it's not that we're on the low end or the high end, but if this is appointed, we have the opportunity then to pool, a wider pool of candidates in surrounding towns. It's oftentimes that a treasurer collector will move from one town to another. But if it's elected, it has to be just a Whitman resident, and then we're looking for a Whitman resident, hopefully that would have treasurer collector experience, which is, I'm sure we probably won't find, many candidates like that. But then we look for, if not treasurer collector experience, just in Whitman, somebody we're hoping, would run that has very strong financial background. But that may not be the case when it's elected.
How do you feel that accountability would be ensured under an appointed system? I think you kind of outlined that. Being elected, they have to be a Whitman resident. If it's somebody who, if it's appointed, well, then you have a larger pool of candidates to pick from. So how do you feel that would happen, and who would actually oversee the treasurer collectors? Would that be your job, or the select board's job to oversee the performance of the treasurer collector?
So the appointment would be made by the Board of Selectmen. They're the appointing authority. Okay. They would be, for the day-to-day, they would report to me, the town administrator. But absolutely, there would be a lot more accountability. I'm sure it's not often that a treasurer collector, gets questions, on receivables or balances or collection or whatever. Where, if it were appointed, those are things that I could ask and take a look at and go, make sure that everything is being done that should be done.
So how do you see this particular change, if in fact it is successful, come May? How will it impact the town's financial management and stability in the long term? Do you feel that it's the long game if you're successful?
Oh, it's both the short game and the long game. Yeah. I mean, it would be huge. It would be great, and especially for planning and, as I mentioned, being part of a strong financial team, having people in place that have the proper finance credentials. It's, a very responsible position. It's not a position where somebody comes in, they're elected. Even if somebody did not run, there could be a write-in, 5 votes, and they could have that position. The day they come in, they're on every bank account for the town as the treasurer. I mean, that can be scary.
I feel that the town was fortunate when you were the treasurer collector.
Oh, thank you.
Because you're somebody who has the work ethic. You're somebody who cares about the community. When you're not sure, every time you decided to become the town administrator, I'm sure it was a challenge to find somebody in the interim to be able to kind of fill that role. Give me your thoughts as the town administrator and having somebody who is competent to be a part of the financial team. I mean, right now we're in we're talking budget season right now, and you want to make sure that that person is on their game.
Absolutely. And so right now we do have the assistant treasurer collector that moved into the position of treasurer collector as the acting treasurer collector until the election.
Right.
So the previous treasurer collector did move on to a surrounding town, and so we were fortunate to have an assistant that would step up to fill this gap temporarily. But it would be, I feel, and I'm very passionate about it, that it would be the best thing for the town. And like I said, it's highly recommended by the Department of Revenue that the communities and the towns move to an appointed versus an elected because of the awesome responsibilities, all the laws that are in place, investments, borrowing for these DPW and all these big projects. You really need to have a lot of financial knowledge. So it's important that we get the right person in place.
What have you heard from, is this something that is just starting to be known? Have you had conversations with the public, stakeholders that have kind of voiced their opinion about a possible change like this?
As I mentioned, we did have it on the town meetings, in the just past couple of years, but I'm starting with this. We will have it on the select board. I'll be discussing, maybe have a speaker in, and Q&A. We'll advertise that for our website, articles in the newspaper. So there's more talk, and people can go onto the links and from the Department of Revenue and check out some of the the questions they may have. One that I've heard over the years is, well, the Board of Selectmen would have all the control, and really, that's not the case. It's getting the most qualified person in place. A lot of times the person, in other towns, I've heard horror stories. They get in there, they don't show up. They don't have to. I mean, it's a 3-year elected position, and if they win, they get paid. Imagine if we didn't have somebody that was in that role every day doing the jobs, and it's a fast-paced environment, treasurer collector. So it's extremely important. It's not one where somebody could come in and say, oh, my staff will take care of everything. It's a hands-on. Yeah. It's very much hands-on role.
It's a popularity contest.
It could be.
It really is, and it's interesting because that was going to be my next question. Is let's talk elected versus appointed. If for some reason someone's performances aren't up to snuff as an appointed, and going through the different measures, if the performance isn't there, a change can be made.
Absolutely.
If someone is elected, you have to wait until the 3 years is out. You might have to go through other measures in order to enforce. Could you really enforce anybody who is elected?
Well, it depends. I mean, certainly if there's malfeasance, then yes, you could go through a process. Okay. But if it's not for any type of theft or anything like that, no, it's very difficult. And what would happen is you would have to totally put that information out so the voters know, because most of the voters, once somebody is in that position, they truly don't know what goes on in an office every single day in any of our offices. So especially with the finance, it's just so important that we have somebody with the proper credentials in the position.
Again, we talked about town meeting would be the start, and then it would be May 17th would be the vote. Anything else? Does there need to be a charter any kind of a charter amendment that needs to happen, or the state legislature? Or is it just as simple as town meeting and then the following vote on the 17th?
Right, and we don't have a charter. We're governed, we have bylaws and so forth. But it is as simple right now as getting it passed at town meeting, and then also at the election. And then if somebody ran and they won, it would be at the expiration of the term for which they ran. So in this particular case, there is one more year left on the prior elected treasurer-collector's term. One more year, a year from this May. However, if nobody runs and this is successful, then it would become effective, appointed immediately.
Okay, so if in fact there's nobody runs for it,
Correct.
Implementation could be more immediate than if someone is elected.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. And that language, of course, will be in the article on the warrant.
The question for the ballot is very online. Yes. Shall the town change, the elected treasurer-collector to an appointed treasurer-collector? But there'll be great discussion on the floor, I'm sure, as there was last year.
What would you say, as the town administrator, to residents who may be concerned about their ability to elect for this particular position and being able to choose the treasurer-collector?
Well, they, certainly, I understand that thought process. However, they're choosing from the people that run for the position. So there could be people that run for the position that don't have the qualifications, and that's the fear. Having it appointed, we have the ability to make sure that the person put in that role, that very important role, handling all the funds for the town, the collection, expending the funds, investing the funds, is well qualified, just like the other appointed positions within the town.
Are there any other solutions being considered, or do you feel the appointment way is the best way?
There's really only elected or appointed. Those are our two options. And we have had elected for many years, and it has gone well. However, there has been some recent change. And, back in the day, especially in some of the small communities, you really didn't have to have qualifications, for a small town with a $5 million budget, or, the person could go in and work with the auditor, work with the accountant, and hopefully things, were okay. It's not that way now. It's so different with the rules, and we have a pension and OPEB, other post-employment benefits investment, trust fund investments. It's a high level with the rules, regulations, the volume, the population, the size of the budget. So having somebody elected walk in, you give them, they have to be bonded within 10 days, giving them the keys, and saying, okay, here's the money that's on the books and invested, and there's certain rules. And also we want to make sure that the person becomes a certified collector and a certified Mass Municipal Treasurer. So when I started, I first got my certification, and I started immediately for the collector. And then it's a 3-year track out at Amherst for a week. And then I started immediately on becoming the certified treasurer. Now, if somebody comes in and they're elected, yes, we want them to be a certified collector and a certified treasurer. If they don't want to go to school for it, they don't have to go to school for it.
And that's the thing, that this could just be kind of like a secondary thing for an elected official, as to where if it's appointed, it's more so, you would hope that it's going to be their primary function.
Oh, absolutely. And we would put in the job description or I think that I would recommend that we put in for it, that, they must, obtain certification as both the collector and both the treasurer.
Right.
So, yes, you could, and of course, if they weren't performing, as you mentioned, there would be steps.
There is recourse.
There's recourse, and there's oversight, where with an elected, there's not a lot of oversight. That's one of the major problems I see.
Well, we want to thank you for coming in here and kind of talking a little bit about this, and at least preparing folks. This is kind of the beginning of the journey to kind of better inform the residents as to what's going on with this proposed change that'll be on the town meeting warrant. Is there anything that you want to say in closing to the community in regards to getting a little bit better understanding of this situation and what the town is looking to do to best protect their finances and the finances moving forward?
Correct. I mean, this is to protect the taxpayers' money. This is, all of the funds that we have to operate, to run the town. It's a lot of money. I want to put forth a Q&A. I'm sure people will have some questions. Yeah. Feel free to call the town administrator's office. Be happy to discuss any questions that anyone may have. I want something up on the website. We'll have something at the select board meeting. We'll have an article in the newspaper. So I think that we will put a lot more information out earlier than maybe in years past. But just, I want people to know, please come out and vote. Come to town meeting on Monday, May 5th. Come out to the election on Saturday, May 17th. This is an important issue, and I hope we have a good turnout.
I want to thank you for coming in and joining me here in studio.
Thank you for having me, really. This has been enjoyable.
Excellent. Well, maybe it'll be one of many down the road.
We'll see.
Okay. We want to thank you for tuning in to CrossTalk and many of the programs that we feature here on WHCA. Again, the idea is just to better inform you, provide some transparency with what's going on in your community, whether it's municipal government, whether it's issues that are happening in the two communities, or even just kind of talk about upcoming events so you're better informed. So if you want to, schedule it on your calendar, you can do so. Until our next conversation, have yourself a great day.